Welcome to the Revere School Committee of the Whole meeting. It's Tuesday, July 12th, 2022, currently 2:05 p.m. Would we kindly stand and salute the flag to the left? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo.
Here.
Mr. Ferrante.
Here.
Miss Gravellese.
Here.
Mr. Kingston.
Here.
Mrs. Milbury-Ellis.
Here.
Miss Ty.
Here.
Mayor Rigo.
Thank you. So this agenda is only on the topic of the discussion and planning of a staff feedback for the superintendent's evaluation to just assist us in the daily work that she does that we are not privy to because we're not in the buildings 24/7. Last meeting, we discussed about doing the evaluation, the survey, some for, some against. Conversation was had, and at the end, we all decided to partake in the survey. The next item is anonymous versus being named on the survey. It was a mixed feeling about whether it should be anonymous and whether it should be names on the survey. So at this point, if anyone has questions or opinions, I'll entertain that. Ms. Ty.
I have never been a fan of anonymous surveys, mainly because in the times that I've had them, it seems that only the people who have an axe to grind are the ones who send them in. And other people who say, oh, yeah, everything's wonderful. Well, nobody says everything's wonderful, but things are okay. And I can see that they're trying as hard as they can, and, under the circumstances and so forth. And a lot of them just let it slide. So, and if it's anonymous, I just think that's a real opening for discussion that will not be positive, that will not lead to any conclusion. We will be still worrying about, who said what, and does this person have an axe to grind, or what if that person didn't get a job? Now, I realize that the majority of people who will put in are people who are people of good heart, who want to do the best they can for the school system. But there is always a minority. We have certainly seen that in the city at any number of times, some more recently than others. But I think I feel strongly that it should be named. But I understand that my colleagues might feel differently from the way I do. So.
Thank you, Ms. Ty. Ms. Gravellese.
Thank you, Mrs. Rizzo. I guess my concerns about having an anonymous survey is, and I'm not speaking about Revere or Revere Public Schools specifically, I'm speaking about like an air of like discontent nationwide. Like in every industry, you hear, mass exodus, the year of retirements, the year of resignations. I just feel, and again, not just in Revere, but everywhere, there is an air of discontent, and we will or may just get the responses from negative naysayers versus someone, if I'm putting my name to it, I'll be critical in a polite way, or I may respond in a way that I feel, where there are areas of concern that we could discuss in an open manner versus hiding behind a closed door. That's just my personal opinion about the anonymous survey. Thank you.
Mr. Kingston.
While I agree with both speakers in a way, I also think that some folks may be I don't want to say afraid, but concerned about airing their concerns. So I don't think, I think an option would be fine. If you'd like to put your name, fine, but if you don't have to. I think that would be fair. Most surveys that I've done have given me that option to whether do I wish to put my name or not. I think that, I just think it opens the door up for everybody. If someone did have concern and says, oh, I don't want to, I don't want to say that publicly or something, and it may be, maybe a legitimate concern, or it might be a legitimate, point of something that's praiseworthy, but doesn't want to say that for whatever reason. So I think, at best, I think we should put an option. If you would like to put your name, you can, but you don't have to. I think that kind of solves both problems. Thank you.
Ms. Milbury-Ellis?
I would agree with John. I like the idea of having the option to put your name if you'd like to. For me, I don't think it matters what the name is on the survey or who's reporting it. I think these are going to be taken with a grain of salt to some extent anyway. So I think it's just for us to kind of get an idea, or just to see if there's any type of prevalence in one way or the other with regard to any of these questions that we're seeking answers to. So for me, I would vote, and I would not want it to be a survey where it was mandated that the person had to identify themselves. I understand the concerns that a few of my colleagues have raised. However, I think that if we want to get the most participation, we should leave the option open for it to be anonymous. Thank you.
Mr. Ferrante?
Thank you, Mrs. Rizzo. There's valid points made on both sides, but I think we want an honest survey. And I think if somebody puts their name to it, you'll get a more honest survey than versus the people that don't. And I don't really want to run into like the internet where you can just say whatever you want, do whatever you want, and not get what you're really looking for. I mean, we're looking to try to get this thing as close to as it can be. And I just think that if you make somebody put their name to it, they will give you a better response than people that won't. And, you're going to get your naysays, you get your positive, but you try to do it in the best way possible. And that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Ms. Gravellese?
Thank you, Mrs. Rizzo. And again, back to name on no name. This survey will be to just us, the school committee, correct? So it's not...
It will come back to just us.
Right. So if a person does have some, areas of concern, it would be us who is reading it, where that person would be protected by our privacy. And they wouldn't have to have the fear of, speaking their mind, thinking there might be repercussions from administration or someone above them. So, in my opinion, it's just a survey that is to us that we should, as professionals, keep private. And we could use it to base our evaluation. Thank you.
Ms. Ty?
I'd just like to add, I was smiling while you were saying it, because during the pandemic, I don't know about the rest of you, but I assume you're the same. I got email after email after email with the names on them. People called me at home and identified themselves, telling me, what they thought they should do, what they thought other people should do, what they thought we should do. They had no problem at all. And I was pretty proud of that they had no problem expressing their opinions and expressing them openly to me. And I do not think that there will be many. I'm sure there will be a few, but I do not think there will be many people who will hesitate because they have to sign their name. So that came into it. And I have to say, it took me forever to answer every single one of those, but it was a very nice interplay. And they understood my point of view, I understood their point of view. I changed my mind in some ways, I didn't in other ways. I think they did in some ways and they didn't in other ways. But it was a really nice exchange, and that way it was human to human. It wasn't, I can just write on this piece of paper something and it'll just pass by, or they won't pay any attention to it anyway. I don't think so. I think that they will understand if they put their name on it, that we will respond to it. But then that puts the responsibility on us to respond to it. And that might be difficult at times, but I think we, at very best, should send out a notice that we received their survey. that would be just the first step, and then there'd be a number of other things about how we would answer them. But I still prefer to have a name, even though I respect, even though I respect everybody else's point of view on that. This is not an easy decision.
Ms. Milbury-Ellis?
To Ms. Ty's point, I was just thinking, you know, I think it's easier to put your name to a letter that's addressed to somebody who, or is concerning somebody who really doesn't have a direct impact on your life, or I just think it's much more difficult to be as honest as you want to be when you're talking about your boss. I think there's a different dynamic at play there, and that might, just the fact that there is that dynamic, that might hinder some people's, I'd say maybe their willingness to participate in the survey altogether. Perhaps.
Just to their credit, if I could add, I tell you, the Revere Teachers Association sent me message after message after message, and the AFSCME folks to some extent, too. So, actually, I was pretty proud of them for that they would do that. 'Cause that's something I would have done, so thank you.
Ms. Gravellese?
Thank you, Mrs. Rizzo. Well, first, I want to just address, Ms. Ty had mentioned, like, what our response may be to the survey, but we do not need to respond to the survey. There will be no responses. So when you said that, just brought something else up in my mind. But my original statement I was going to make is, through, the years that I've been here, I have gotten phone calls or emails from staff members with concerns, and I have addressed those to Dr. Kelly. I would call her or email her, and Dr. Kelly would always ask, well, where did this come from? And we all respectfully say, it's none of your business. And Dr. Kelly knows that. You know what I mean? We've all done that. There isn't one of us that hasn't said those words to Dr. Kelly. It's none of your business. This came to us, and this is a concern. I'd like you to look into it. So there has been that, confidentiality, I feel, throughout the years, the 8 years that I've been here. Thank you.
Clarify, I thought we might just respond in a way that we received your,
An acknowledgement.
yeah, just an acknowledgement, thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I was thinking more of, as soon as they submit it back, it automatically gets a reply back saying, thank you for taking the time. Yeah. If I figure out how to do it. I just want to add my 2 cents like I always do. And I look at it as Ms. Gravellese talked about, it's coming back to us and we're professional and we're not going to give those names out or information on how people reported back to us. I look at our staff and whether there are naysayers or not, we're proud of our staff being professionals. I'm not going to say 100%, on a given day might have some anger or some animosity or might not be happy with what's going on, especially everyone lately. But I do believe that the way we would choose who would receive the survey and how they would respond would be professional if it was done anonymously. And I think you're going to get more honest answers than negative answers. I think, and I say honest, things that could benefit her and maybe little adjustments if she needs any. If one person has something really disgusting to say and everyone else has, rave reviews, we know we got to take it with a grain of salt, what that person says. But I'm going to say, I do believe in anonymous. I am all for optional. I mean, because everyone is different. Some people might feel like they have a great relationship with Dr. Kelly, and some might not feel that they have that great relationship, or maybe even like that personalized relationship. So, with that, I would go with optional also. So at this point, does anyone want to make a motion of which way you want to go?
Madam Chair, I will move that we require a name on the survey.
Second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo,
No.
Mr. Ferrante,
Yes.
Ms. Gravellese,
Yes.
Mr. Kingston,
No.
Mrs. Milbury-Ellis,
No.
Ms. Ty,
Yes.
Mayor Arrigo.
That motion fails. Does anyone want to make a motion? Any other motions on it? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Kingston.
Substitute motion just to make it optional? I think that's a compromise. Thank you.
I'll second that one.
Roll call?
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrante,
Yes.
Ms. Gravellese,
No.
Mr. Kingston,
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury-Ellis,
Yes.
Ms. Ty,
4-2, that passes, so we will do optional. Okay. Hopefully that was the hardest one. But it's not, I guess. So the next agenda item is who would we like to invite to participate in this survey? And I personally just put these down. It doesn't mean it's set in stone. I'm not saying this is the way it should be. I was just given options. Ms. Gravellese?
Thank you, Mrs. Rizzo. I did read over the survey questions, which I see that you changed from like the previous meeting. Yep, remember last time you gave us these?
Yeah, that was a sample.
Right. But I think these are great because these are the ones that came from the staff feedback survey that Dr. Kelly did as
We're
part
on
of-
a different one.
What? The new
We're
ones.
on who are we inviting?
Oh, I'm getting to that.
Oh, okay.
I'm leading up to the fact that, you know, these questions come from the original staff survey that Dr. Kelly did during her entry plan. I'm just repeating that because Aisha and John may not know that. And for that survey went to the principals, assistant principals, directors, department heads, and the assistant superintendents. So I feel where the questions are, you know, pulled from that same survey, that the same people should receive the survey.
And that's who I have on the
Oh.
agenda.
Right, but you also have plant and maintenance, food service, CFO, HR, Director of Communications. I don't know. Just like.
Ms. Milbury-Ellis?
If this, so I suppose it depends on the mode that we use for the survey. If it's SurveyMonkey, then I would say to send it out to all of those individuals that are relevant as far as who work with her on a day-to-day basis and can provide some feedback. Because at the end of that survey, it's going to be tallied for us, and we're just going to have our questions, and we're going to have an idea of, you know, the percentage of people, how they feel one way or the other. So the more the merrier, as far as I'm concerned, with who we're sending this to. So I would say, in addition to those identified by Susan who were originally provided with this survey, those other positions that you've identified on here as well. And if there's any others that are missing that you good people deem we should send them to.
Yeah, I think we're missing assistant principals. Mr. Kingston?
I was just wondering why the teachers weren't being surveyed as well.
Basically, if it's this, they do a survey with their principals. They don't work day to day with the superintendent, but they do with their own administration within the schools. And that's just my opinion. I mean, anyone feel free to add to it. Ms. Milbury-Ellis?
I have no problem with the teachers being surveyed as well, so long as, like I said, we're using one of these tools that automatically tally the results, and it's just a matter of us looking at the results.
Mr. Kingston?
And also add I apologize if I don't say her title right, but the fine arts director, or whatever the title is, and I apologize for not having the right title, but that's included as the
Kelly
director.
Williams?
Oh, I know who it is, I just don't know her exact title. She could be added to that list. Yeah, but she
Yeah.
wasn't listed, that's all I was trying to say. It looks like the rest were, but she wasn't. I know it's just, I'm sure it's just an omission, a mistake. so to
And
speak.
I omitted Kelly Williams. I also omitted Comprehension Health Director because they're just coming onto the job, so they haven't had the day-and-day workings yet. As far as, Kelly Williams will be stepping in the role, her title is there, but she hasn't started yet. But again, Ms. Ty?
So we've defined who the directors are, and that's fine with me if all the directors participate, and all the principals. And the plant and maintenance, I'm assuming you mean just those who are in the top. But food service, how far down do we go there? This is just this is a question to be thought about. Who in central office? You've got the HR and the CFO.
So when I thought of central office, I thought of our assistant superintendents along with their secretaries that work day and day, who probably know her more than anyone on this
That's true.
paper.
Yeah.
As far as food service, Cheryl Cole and Diane have had a working relationship for
Yeah.
years. She's worked with her, she's worked with Richie. So I think she would have great professional input on
Yeah,
it.
Agreed.
My opinion.
No, I agree with that. I'm just trying to spread the net as wide as we can, but to keep it within, a reasonable set of rules and set of, and choices of people. But I think we need to be careful if, for example, we take the secretaries in here, although I certainly believe we should, then do we take all of them in the business office, and then do we take them in other places? And I'm not saying I have an answer yes or no about this. I think it's probably no, but I just think it should be out there about, we might need to spend a little bit more time thinking about who the people are. We might want a recommendation from the assistant superintendents about who actually is in a position to be working with Dr. Kelly at a, maybe not daily basis, but a frequency that's marked anyway. So I think I'd like to get something like that. I hate to put another burden on Dr. McCarver here, but
Dr. McCarver, do you have anything to add?
No, I'm happy to get whatever you need.
Ms. Gravellese?
Thank you, Mrs. Rizzo. I'm going back to my original statement where we had the 2 years, 2016 and 2017, feedback from the those that I mentioned, principal, assistant principal, et cetera. And we also have the same questions here that was there, and we have 2 years of data on those same exact questions that we could use for comparison to this survey with the data. So, in my mind, it would be surveying the same people that were surveyed at that time, those 2 years, 2016, 2017, and using the data to compare the answers.
Yes, and I apologize because I did take the directors and the principals. I did omit assistant principals, but I thought I took everything off the old survey sheet that we did go by before. That's what I meant, assistant, I'm sorry. As far as central office and secretaries, I don't know any other secretaries that work like. I'm not either. But, I mean, there might be more directors that work with her than other directors. I don't know that. So we're leaving it open, and hopefully, with their professionalism, they'll answer what they can according to what they know. That's all I can hope for. Mr. Ferrante?
Question about the Director of Communication. How much, and maybe Danielle can answer this, how much does Diane to talk or work with the Director, the Communication?
I know that Lorenzo has been working closely with her all year.
So would she be in any position really to answer the survey? It's not, I'm picking on, I'm just asking, that's all.
Right. Well, I mean, I know, I'm sure she's aware of Diane and her vision and messages and communication and all of the things that you're asking in here, but I do know, for example, like I work very closely with the curriculum directors, that Dr. Garcia has worked very closely with her over the course of this year.
Thank you.
And again, hopefully, they'll answer questions that they can answer, and, you know, she's been here for a whole year, so she is deserving, just like our Jennifer Lebolito, and others. And hopefully, they can just answer them honestly. Ms. Milbury-Ellis?
On that note, I was just going to point out that there is the option here for neutral, so if somebody was unable to answer the question because they didn't have enough information or weren't privy to something, that is an option.
So with that, can I entertain a motion of who we have here plus the assistant principals? Or someone want to make a motion on how we want to go forward
Excuse me, I just
or
have
not
a
go forward?
clarification. Did you want to add teachers to who we have here?
That
or-
would be someone's motion, wouldn't be mine.
Could we have, for clarification, I mean, a specific listing? I mean, will it be every director, every principal, every assistant principal, every assistant superintendent? I'd feel much more comfortable if I had a list in front of me about who was going to be on it. In case there's any controversy about it, I'd like to deal with it before we send it out rather than afterwards.
If it's all our directors, then we already know who would be doing it.
Well, are they all listed here, Dr. McCarver? All the directors?
So Carl is not listed, Cheryl Cole, Matt Cruz obviously is our CFO, Lori Maid is the HR director, and the director of communication is Ann Balthrunis.
Yeah. So, okay, so this is not a full list, and,
It is full list.
it is. Who's the director of communications?
Ann?
Ann Balthrunis.
Oh, she is? Okay, and, so have we decided, all the assistant superintendents, all the assistant principals?
I'm just waiting for a motion so we can
Okay.
decide. Ms. Milbury-Ellis?
I make a motion to include as participants in the upcoming survey, all directors, all principals, all plant and maintenance, all food service, all central office, including assistant superintendents. Actually, the director of communications would be included in all directors. So all teachers, all assistant principals. Is there anyone else that I have forgotten?
Second.
I'd like to make a substitute motion.
Let's just see if did I forget any other positions?
Well, I just want to clarify, when we talk about all plant and maintenance, we're only talking the director of plant
Correct,
and maintenance.
correct.
Okay,
Yep, correct, I assume that too.
just, you know,
Yep.
for public.
Yep, thank you.
Mr. Kingston?
Second?
Roll call, if it failed. So, roll call, please. My apologies, my apologies, my apologies.
You have to vote yes or no on the substitute motion.
Okay, I would like to make a substitute motion. That's okay. The substitute motion would be that I would like to survey those that were surveyed back in 2016 and 2017, which includes all principals, assistant principals, all directors, department heads, and assistant superintendents only.
Second.
Now we vote.
So,
I left out, no, I left out teachers, plant and maintenance, Cheryl Cole, central office.
but they directed.
But they're department heads.
Yeah.
Oh, the department, so whoever fall, all right, they fall under department heads.
Jonathan Ferrara.
Okay.
So are you leaving central office staff out?
Yes.
She has assistant superintendent.
No, but central office, meaning
secretary.
assistant superintendents and secretaries.
I included the assistant superintendents.
So not the secretaries in the central office.
Correct.
Okay.
Should we
So
update them?
retake that, can you reword the motion so we're clear?
Okay. I am making a substitute motion that the survey will go out to those that were originally surveyed, it's the same questions, those that were originally surveyed in March of 2016 and 2017, which included principals, assistant principals, directors, department heads, and assistant superintendents for the survey. And should we let them know what the
Second.
original motion is?
I'll second that.
The original motion included all of those identified positions, as well as teachers. And within the central office, all of the central office, which would include the secretaries. And we have directors, all directors.
Mine includes all directors and excludes teachers.
So it's the way it was at the beginning, minus teachers and minus the superintendent secretaries.
All right, so now are we voting on my alternate motion or the original?
We didn't have a second.
Michael seconded.
I
Oh,
second.
I apologize, Michael. Holy. So a roll call, please.
This is on the substitute motion, correct? Okay, just making sure we're clarifying which one.
Okay, I just want to acknowledge that Mayor Arrigo has arrived. Mrs. Bronston Rizzo.
I'm so confused now. I want to say yes.
Mr. Ferrante.
Yes.
Miss Gravellese.
Yes.
Mr. Kingston.
No,
Mrs. Milbury-Ellis.
No.
Miss Ty.
Yes.
Mayor Arrigo.
Yes.
Mayor, would you like your seat? Pass the agenda down. Okay, so the next one is, at the beginning of the survey that I sent out, it usually is a description on welcome, thank you for participating. We know that my English grammar is
Fine.
sad. And so I was hoping that perhaps someone on this committee could help draft a short intro into the survey. Any takers? Ms. Milbury-Ellis has offered. Thank you. Okay, question to be developed. So I did send it out. I did also tell you that even though these were questions that I had put down, doesn't necessarily mean they have to be the questions that go out. At the last meeting, I had asked for people to come up with some ideas or thoughts on maybe questions they might want. These questions come from the survey that she took with the first 2 years working with the Superintendent Association. So basically, all I did was take some of those same questions and just narrow it down so it wasn't like 10 per part. I did like 4 or 5 that might be a little bit easier. You don't want a long survey and people are on vacation and they're just gonna not finish it and never get back to it either. So I was just looking at the shorter, the better, and also clear. So is there anything that people might want to add to a survey? Or let me start with, if everyone went over it, is there anything they want to take off the survey? Is there something, Ms. Gravellese?
No, I just thought this was a great take from the original survey where you just pulled some of the questions and shortened it a little so it wasn't as lengthy. So I thought all of them were fine.
Were there any questions that people might think might be more advantageous to us? Ms.
I
Ty?
think- Oh, sorry.
Ms. Gravellese?
No, using this would be a great comparison with the data that we already have from the 2 surveys from 2016 and 2017. I feel changing some of the questions could change the data on it, so I think sticking with the original questions. I'd be curious if Dr. Makaba may know, like, how many people that survey went out to in 2016, 2017. I'm sure Dr. Kelly has that data. And I believe at that time, then again, this is my scribble scratch, so I could be incorrect, that there were only 42 respondents. Okay, so I'd like to, get the number of, who it went out to at that time. And I'm assuming the number of staff currently is pretty much the same. And if we have a similar amount of responses, then I think it would be a good data.
Anyone else? Okay, so we'll stick to the same questions. Do you want a motion or you want to just agree? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Abstain? Done. The next one was whether we want to go SurveyMonkey or Google Survey. Either one is just easy to use. No preference? Carol, come on, you wanted to do this, didn't you? You were going to set it up? I'm going to ask Dr. Makaba, has Google Survey been used much in the system?
So when we survey parents, because we do it in multiple languages, we've been using SurveyMonkey. The majority of the internal surveys, for example, like our exit survey, are done via Google Survey.
Okay. So either way should be fine. What I can do is set it up on both, and you can see if it's aesthetically pleasing one way or the other before it goes out. Don't trust me. The next one would be due date, when we would like to send it out. And I feel if you send something out and give it a long time for answers to come back, it doesn't come back. So 2 weeks.
I would say
is-
2 weeks.
2 weeks is plenty. And do
Just
we
a
want to
question.
have a due date?
I mean,
When are we sending it out?
that was just
Well,
going to be my
that's what I mean.
question.
I
When
would
are we
do 2
sending it out?
weeks before the due date.
2 weeks from
So-
the due date.
We would want it, September, we'd be reporting out on her evaluation. So I was thinking August 15th would be great for the due date. Well, you need it to get your evaluation ready, right?
So then you would
I
send
mean-
it out August then? You would send out the survey in August?
Are we not going to be sending this out, like, as soon as possible so that we could go over the
We-
data and meet
We
again?
can, if that's the will,
Yeah,
yes, that's
yeah, I
fine.
think we need to get
And
it
then 2
out.
weeks from then. So if you send it out tomorrow, 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Right.
I'm not ready tomorrow, I
No, I'm
can
just
tell
saying,
you.
whenever you're doing it though.
I'd like to have it by the end of July, so
I
that we
can get you the introduction by Monday.
So that we can meet again to review and have another meeting, because it's going to take several meetings before we complete our evaluation that we have to report on in September. So if we have an August 15th deadline for the survey, that really cuts it short for us.
So we're talking 2 weeks. I am looking at you want it back by, that means it has to go out next week.
If it's possible, I mean, we have the questions, we have who it's going to, so
Okay,
I don't know
can
how to set it
I
up.
look at it for the next 2 days, send out a date? Would that be all right for everyone? I just know I have a summer institute over the weekend, and I'm slow. Okay, then I'll get back to everyone. And what would everyone like to do about the next steps, the next meeting? Would you like to go over the data? Would you like to, how would you like to move forward?
Maybe we could meet and even before the data comes, just to go over the information that Dr. Kelly gave us for the evidence of her progress.
That's what I meant, that
Right.
data.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, I thought you meant the Survey Monkey
No,
data.
no.
Yes, I think we should meet for that.
Okay, should I send out options for times? I'll call you. You have such a social life. More than all of us. Together. Okay, anyone else want to discuss anything going forward with the evaluation? Seeing none, does anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. This meeting's over.